Ladies and gentlemen, another edition of Roundtable College Football. And about damn time, we actually have some games to preview. It is a tease, and no offense to some of the schools that are battling this weekend. I know all of us are excited about Iowa State and Kansas State and Ireland. Some of us, like our great co-host Jay Tuck's, probably excited about the Kansas game, which is also going to be taking place on Saturday. But damn, it feels so good. Our patience during the offseason is obviously rewarded. Jay Tuck, what's going on with you, man? How you doing?
Man, we are here week 0. Excited, just got back from the University of Kansas. I was there today doing some prep for this weekend because also they're going to have the new renovated Memorial Stadium. They also got $300 million extra donation from the Booth family, so they're going to add in some more. So I was doing some prep there down in Lawrence, and football is back. Excited. We got the Senior Bowl top 300 list, so I've been kind of combing through that already today. So it feels good to be back, and we'll talk about these week 0 matchups.
Some week 0 matchups. I am absolutely thrilled about it. We did get some breaking news. It sounds like the SEC did ultimately end up bending the knee to the Big Ten by bullying them into finally getting 9 conference games. Starting in 2026, now the SEC is set to play 9 conference games. I saw many memes on the internet saying no more SEC playing Mercer in November.
Right.
It's a big thing, right? Because we hear that from all the Big Ten fans all the time saying oh, well, we have 9 conference games. Look at the SEC. And so they're playing Coastal Community College on week 9 each and every single year. Of course, their rankings are a bit inflated. How do you feel about this?
I love it, right? I love it from a competition standpoint, but also as you try to prepare for the CFP, just like the Big Ten was kind of saying, because there's always those random games, like you said, Alabama versus St. Mary's in the middle of the season. How do they get on the schedule? So, with the SEC being as strong as it is, it's going to add much better matchups, and it's going to be overall better for college football in general, because you might get some of those matchups you didn't get throughout the course of the actual season. So, yeah, I think it's a good move, and I'm excited about it. And, things will kind of shape up a little bit in the SEC. But, as we've been talking about, the SEC is probably the cream of the crop when it comes to conferences in college football. So to add an extra game, the much better it is for us.
So I would have thought, man, that they would have tried to postpone this as much as humanly possible. I thought that they would try to slow walk this, like a 2027 launch or a 2028 launch. But it sounds like that they're just hitting the ground running. Thankfully, we still get to
probably involved. There's probably some financially. They probably accelerate quicker.
Most definitely. But it's funny because when you reflect back to Big 12 and Big 10 media days, at least 3 or 4 head coaches apiece were saying, "Oh, well, the SEC has the 8 conference games and not 9 like us right over at the Big 10. So what the hell are we going to be doing?" But it's definitely interesting, man. But this year we are still playing Mercer on week 9. So give us a break. Noah comes in. He says, "I'm glad they did that. It gets boring watching SEC teams beat down on no-name schools.
You can't
games
even bet
will
on
be
those
more
games.
Exciting throughout the season." Don't sit here and lie to me, Noah, and say that you're not excited to watch Georgia play Austin P on week 2. All right?
You have to bet $50,000 to win 100. So get rid of those games.
Oh my God. All right, folks. We have college football week 0. I am absolutely thrilled. Maybe it's just because I needed my college football itch to be scratched, right? But the first game, I think, which a lot of people, it's definitely the game, right? It is going to be Kansas State and Iowa State in Dublin, Ireland. Now, me and Jay Tuck, we do plan on actually launching a little bit of a betting show that's going to be behind a Patreon wall later on, but that is a conversation for a different time. But I'm curious, Jay Tuck. We have Kansas State, right? It's obviously led by Mr. Johnson, their quarterback. He's returning, solid year last year. He's looking to maintain off of that. A lot of people are high on this Kansas State team. And you have Iowa State. While I like what they did on the defensive side of the football, but I don't think it's crazy to say that we should be anticipating a crazy regression from their offense, losing out on their 2 top wide receivers. As much as we like Rocco Becht, maybe he'll have something to say about it. But What are your thoughts on Kansas State and Iowa State going into Ireland this Saturday at noon?
Yeah, going into Ireland, and, I kind of have PTSD about that because last year my Florida State Seminoles went over to Ireland and we got stunned, right, by Georgia Tech. So, I think this is going to be a ground and pound game. Now, for all my sports bettors out there, are going to give you a little nugget when it comes to Rocco's modern life out there. He's thrown for a touchdown in 28 straight games. So if you find any prop bets that has him throwing for a touchdown, you probably want to slam that because you can pretty much guarantee it. So, but I think this is going to be a ground and pound game. You have Avery Johnson, the quarterback for Kansas State, probably one of the most highly talked about quarterbacks in the Big 12 conference. Kansas State has Dylan Edwards. If you're familiar, he used to play with Coach Prime in Colorado before he transferred. But both teams, when it comes to the wide receiver position, is a little lackluster. We know what Iowa State lost last year with Jalen Noel and also Higgins last year as well. I think it's going to be a back and forth battle. But I think right now Kansas State is favored by -3. Kansas State has had some injuries in the spring. Oh, I'm kind of leaning towards Iowa State, and the reason why I'm leaning towards Iowa State is I like their running back duo in Carson Hansen and Abu Sama. So I feel like they can get things going on the ground. Hansen probably getting in the ground in the end zone probably be a safe bet as well if you want to parlay it. But they also have their defensive tackle and Dominic Orange is a senior returner who's pretty much dominant with the versus the run. So, when you're on these neutral fields, across their pond, as you will, anything can really kind of go. Kansas State does have probably like 11 or 10 starters returning.
Yeah.
Their linebacker core is pretty solid. So it's a very even matchup. Maybe it's just my Kansas Jayhawk in me that wants to go with Iowa State. But I would probably say I think Iowa State beats Kansas State.
Yeah. So my thought process here is I'm probably going to take +3 Iowa State, especially since you're so high on them, and I will be hedging my bets.
However, +3.5. Take them +3.5.
I'll probably take them +3.5 for this game.
There you go.
I am, however, going to pick Kansas State. I really think that there is a lot of value in continuity. And I feel like when I look at Iowa State, I feel like this is going to be the first attempt of them completely shifting their identity from last year. Yes, I'm high on their running back room. I think it will be effective, but I do think that there are going to be some growing pains. I'm not entirely sure that they are going to be able to make it all work on week 0. Maybe they figure it out and they make a seamless transition later on during the season. But I feel like I would be remiss not to side with continuity right over in Kansas State. Right. And who knows, right? I feel like a lot of us don't talk about how crazy that jet lag is going to be for some of these players going overseas. Now, I was not anticipating last year with Georgia Tech beating Florida State coming off of a damn undefeated season. And while the season continued with Florida State, it was certainly not the jet lag. It was just a complete
it was a lot of problems. Jet lag was the least of our concerns.
I'm curious to see how that plays a role. I'm going to go with Kansas State, but to hedge my bet, I'm kind of feeling I'm going to have to go with the +3 for Iowa State, or +3.5, like you said. So to hedge my bet, so I'm not upset. But K-State, that's exactly what I'm going with.
Yeah, you do get the Kansas State continuity, because you get 5, like I said, 11 starters returning.
Yeah.
This one, like I said, this is going to be one just for my sports bettors out there. I know we'll do the sports betting stuff later, but sit back, be comfortable, and we'll watch the line movement, kind of see which way to go and see where Vegas is and all that fun stuff. But this is going to be a fun game. It's going to be, what time is this matchup? That can also 11 a.m.
Thank God it's the first game, so it's the first taste of what we
early morning, 11 a.m. Saturday. Start things out the gate.
My God, dude.
You know what? Actually, I'm going to reverse that. I'm going to go with Kansas State because I trust Avery Johnson more than I trust Rocco. So I'm going to go Avery Johnson.
Avery Johnson. Maybe Rocco has something to say about that. We have Jake, the Minnesota sports fan, is saying, I just hope that the Cyclones' offensive line is healthy.
Right.
Had a lot of question marks during fall camp as well. And
they both had injuries,
yeah. As much as I love their running back duo, I think it's still left to be decided whether or not that it's largely their offensive line that's pulling the weight, or is it truly the running back duo? My God, dude, what a damn game to start off college football week 0, man.
Can't wait.
Oh my God, man. We're going to have to see. All right. So moving on with week 0, I think I kind of want to talk about Fresno State. Kurt Warner's son, EJ. EJ Warner is going to be making his debut as the starting quarterback for Fresno State, taking on the Kansas Jayhawks. I did do some digging on EJ Warner. Last year, he was with Rice. And then I want to say that he started off his collegiate career with another small school that is, it's not at the tip of my head, but I'm curious, especially since, and folks, in case you don't know, and so our good friend Jay Tuck, he does cover the Kansas Jayhawks on a regular basis. Thoughts on that one, man? Fresno State and Kansas.
Yeah, I mean, I think Fresno State's going to be a much improved team last year. I believe they were 6-7 last year, but I think that's for me personally excitement, right? You get to see EJ Warner out there and play versus it's hard, right? Because the Kansas Jayhawks, they're not going to be the Kansas Jayhawks of last year. They were 5-7 as well, but they lost a lot of depth, right? Devin Neal being the most notorious one. They lost their entire wide receiver core with Luke Graham, who's actually out there. And for the Chargers, they lost one of their top offensive linemen, their top 2 corners, and Melo Dotson and Kobe Bryant. So they only have 5 returners on offense and 5 on defense. So it's going to be a completely new look when it comes to the Kansas Jayhawks. But when it comes to Fresno State, I think EJ Warner is going to be the most important piece. But outside of that, they have a strong center. I think his name's like Jaccoon Spooner or something like that. That's decent. But outside of that, I don't think they have the talent to keep up with Kansas. This will be Kansas's, first return home game, because last year they were playing a lot of games at remote locations. They were playing on soccer fields, also Arrowhead Stadium. And I expect Jalen Daniels, not Jaden Daniels, Jalen Daniels, the quarterback.
So I just learned that. Jalen Daniels.
It's so confusing. It's so confusing, right? Jalen Daniels, being a 5th-year senior, to have a much improved season than he had last year. A year prior, he had some injuries. Last year, moving from Andy Kolonicki's offense, who now in Penn State, to Coach Grimes, it kind of got off to a very slow start. And I was actually up there in the press box like, what is this, right? They got to a very slow start, and they lost a lot of close games for Kansas last year. Some they really should have won. A lot of them happened in the 4th quarter, but Jalen Daniels had some issues when it came to turnovers. So I think that will probably seize a little bit. You'll have Daniel Highshaw, who's a returning running back. I think that he's going to be one of their number 1 backs this year. Bryce Foster, center, he'll definitely be on NFL Draft Alert. We'll be talking about him all year. But my biggest concern is the wide receiver core when it comes to Kansas. It's a lot of unproven guys. I know that they have Emmanuel Henderson.
So it's all transfer portal guys. It's
all transfer portal. So it's all kind of brand new, right? So we got to sit back and wait and see. But on the defensive side of the ball, they lost some guys and Jamie Robinson as well. But they get Dean Miller back, and this is a fun guy. He led the team in sacks last year. I think he had like 6 sacks. He's kind of wiry. He's on that Senior Bowl top 300. I was doing some film on him on my Instagram account. So they also got Jalen Todd, who was a transfer from the University of Utah State. Had like 42 tackles. So it's a bunch of transfers, a bunch of portal kids out there for the Kansas Jayhawks. But I believe they win this game. I think the spread is like at -14. They can cover it, but I really think that Fresno's going to make them scrap for it early. But hopefully Kansas doesn't get off to those slow starts, because that was probably a lot of their issues last year. But I think Coach Leipold's team will be much improved. They're going to be excited to be at home. It's sold out at the booth. You can't even get tickets. You got to know somebody to even get in there. So the place is going to be rocking. I expect the Kansas Jayhawks to go out there Saturday and handle business.
So the brand new stadium you were talking about too, right?
Yeah, well, it's renovated. It was renovated. So there it is. Yeah. So
take a gander right there, David Booth.
David Booth. Yeah.
Ooh,
so
man.
Yeah, I was just up there a second ago before I got back. It looks great. I'll actually be able to have cell phone service. In the press box. It was so old and concrete everywhere. I never had cell phone service when I was at the games, and They have the wheat paint on the actual end zone, so it's clean. They have the new Anderson facility that you're probably about to see right here. Oh, it's on the far right. So yeah, it's
Damn.
exciting. Yeah, and they actually, like, after they renovated it, like I said, their booster gave them an extra $300 million. Yep, that's the Anderson family football complex. So they're gonna take you inside of it. Yep.
Okay. Oh, damn, dude. We're going inside of the facilities
Yeah,
right here.
yeah. So that's we're making football because a lot of people, rightfully so, Kansas is where basketball was invented. So Kansas for the
Yeah.
longest has been a basketball school. Like, if you
Yeah.
ever like just want to experience sports heaven, go to Allen Fieldhouse, go during a basketball game. I went last year for Kansas versus North Carolina, and my God, the place was rocking, right? But Kansas is starting to build that foundation of being a football school as well. And as you see, they have a beautiful facility that's been built, an extra $300 million in the pocket to add on even more. I'm not sure what else more do you need? What else more do you need? But this
is a long ass tour right here, man.
Oh,
We still have
yeah,
a minute and a half of
it's
this.
all upgrade. Yeah, I didn't go all back in here. I should have kept walking. I came in and got my work stuff and my passes and kind of walked out.
Well, now you don't need to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you don't need to. You've seen it all. Yeah,
My
you've
feet are
seen
kind
it
of
all.
tired already. Just kind of going the virtual.
So as far as betting on this game, right? So as far as betting on this game, it sounds that you're leaning for Kansas on the money line, or is there anything that we should be looking for?
Yeah, you can easily money line this, but the odds are probably not going to be in your favor. Let me check what the money line odds are. It's probably
Kansas,
horrible.
Fresno State.
Yeah, right now it's like minus 400, so I probably wouldn't touch that. The spread is set at 13, I believe, or 14. I'll probably take it at 13 and a half, because I always try to tell sports bettors, right? Think about football points: 3, right? 7, 10, 14, 21, right? So never go like 4.5, right? Because that means a team has to get a field goal or possibly 2 field goals, right? So always tease down to those football numbers. But I would probably, I laddered on this game, to be honest with you guys. So what a ladder is like, you'll take, let's say you have $200 you want to bet, right? You might bet $75 on the money line. You might bet, $50 on minus 2.5, and you might do $60. So you kind of ladder up the higher you go. And so I laddered Kansas all the way up to minus 22 on this game, to be honest with you guys. So, and I might even do so.
Yeah, well, look at that, folks. You have Fresno State plus 12.5. And I got to tell you what, I'm sitting here and I'm looking at the attrition that Kansas has experienced this offseason.
You like it?
And I'm seeing 3 brand new transfer portal wide receivers.
Did I lose you?
I'm going to have to go plus 12.5, dude.
Plus 12.5? You're going with Fresno plus 12.5? I don't know. I don't know, man. I feel like Jalen Daniels is going to come out there and really anchor this Kansas
I'm gonna have to go.
You're gonna go Jalen Daniels, man. And here's the thing. Speaking of the Senior Bowl top 300 list, he wasn't on it, surprisingly. But when he is healthy, when he's on, he's a very good dual threat quarterback. So he'll be able to use his legs. It's just the wide receiver core. But I'm really hoping that Coach Grimes, the offensive coordinator, has improved this offseason, because what we saw last year when it came to running back utilization with Hineshaw and also Devin Neal, it was a head scratcher. It wasn't until that infamous Colorado game when they really started running the ball with one of the best running backs in college football last year. And like, okay, well, where's that been all year? So I think that'll change. If there is any ground props on Jalen Daniels, definitely look into those, because he's going to use his legs a lot this year. But I think they cover that 12.5. I'm going with Kansas to cover.
So I'll tell you what, man, you know what? That's a very interesting segue, because right now I'm actually really curious to look at exactly the top 300 breakdown of some players that we really, really like. I have the Senior Bowl pulled up.
Okay.
right now. And shout out to the Senior Bowl. Dude, last year I was kind of disappointed that you didn't show up to the Senior Bowl last year.
Well, only reason I haven't been to the Senior Bowl is because it's pressed up right against the Super Bowl, so just like,
yeah,
that's my one. I'll probably go this year because it's like, you know what, it's a great opportunity. And as much as I love college football, but it's just like, I remember I had to cover boxing. I was covering boxing out in Vegas. So I had to fly to Vegas, to the Senior Bowl in Alabama, to the Super Bowl. And I was just like, that's a lot. So that's why I missed the Senior Bowl. But
man, so I was sitting here and like I'm trying to find like the list of like the top 20. Senior Bowl top 20. I don't know how I can organize this specifically.
Let's see here. You let me
100
see.
per. It's going by school.
Yeah, you have it. They don't have it ranked. They have it by position, alphabetical order, school breakdown, and underclassmen. Mine's a spreadsheet. But yeah, it's all by
some
position.
big takeaways then.
I wonder, is it? No, it can't be. Like I said, one of my biggest takeaways is that Jalen Daniels was not listed. You have Sam Levitt, Arizona State on it. Cade Klubnik, of course.
Cade.
Yeah, you have Haynes King out of Georgia Tech, who walked through us last year. My guy Diego Pavia out of Vanderbilt's on it as well. Lenore Sanders, who I spoke about, so he's on it. From the running back core, Jam Miller out of Alabama, someone to keep your eyes on. But I'm thinking when it comes to this year's class, just to give you guys some pre-draft insight, outside of Jeremiah Love and maybe Mekhi Hughes out of Oregon, you'll have the guys, Katrion Allen and Nick Singleton out of Penn State, but this running back class isn't going to be as deep as last year. And also, this wide receiver class is going to be more of a mixture. 2 years ago, right, you had a lot of like this that was the Jordan Addison type, slot gadgety type wide receivers. Then last year was more the big physical boundary guys. I think this year is going to be a good blend. But I think the lead dog probably in this year's draft class will be Jordan Tyson out of the University of Arizona State. He's probably going to have the first reins on everything. But then you have some guys like Squirrel Wright, who's just like a 6'5", 6'6" monster out of Florida State. Isaiah Horton and Jeremy Bernard out of Alabama. Those guys will be there. Barry and Brown out of LSU. So there's going to be some talent at the wide receiver position. But I think once we get to draft season, it's going to be razor thin. I don't think it's going to be extreme standouts like when you had like Marvin Harrison and those types of wide receivers. A player that I'm really excited to take a look at, of course, offensive line when it comes to the Cowboys that's on this list is Caden Proctor, left tackle out of Alabama. I feel like he's probably going to be the top 1 or 2 tackles in this year's class. And then my favorite 2 prospects in this draft. I know we can switch to draft talk, but you know how I get, man.
Oh yeah.
All you gotta do is say draft, and I just start going.
Yeah, we start going.
Yeah, but I would say my favorite 2 prospects in this year's class, hands down, to the defensive side of the ball, and that is Anthony Hill Jr. out of the University of Texas and Caleb Downs out of the University out of Ohio State, safety and linebacker. I mean, these kids are phenomenal. And I know people are going to say, oh, you don't draft linebackers that early or safeties that early. By the time we get to April next year, you're not going to care what position that they play. You're just going to want to get these kids on your NFL roster because they're that damn good. So it's probably my 2 favorites in this year's class. But then you also got defensive tackle Caleb Banks, and also one of my Knowles, Daryl Jackson out of Florida State. I got to put a Knoll in there somewhere. So good class. I think it's a good mixture class. When I look at the top 300, I think the one thing that really stood out to me was that Jalen Daniels was not even listed on it.
Well, look at that, man. He has a great opportunity going out there and hanging sack on Fresno State on Saturday.
Right. Yeah. Punish Fresno for that.
It is great. One team that is playing this Saturday, and I don't really think that us previewing it is going to be necessary, but it's UNLV, and they're playing the it's a very small school. It's the Idaho State. But the big storyline here is that a familiar face, Dan Mullen, who was formerly the Florida head coach all the way up to 2021, and was also the Mississippi State head coach when Dak Prescott was slinging it over there. And I got to tell you, with this gentleman, Brandon, he hit the nail on the head. He said that UNLV, he took a team that only had 2 returning starters, hit the transfer portal like absolutely crazy, signed 33 former P4 players, and 16 were blue chips out of high school. So while I don't see UNLV obviously being a playoff team going into 2025, what are your expectations for this squad, man? Especially with a coach that hasn't been in the game in quite some time.
Yeah, UNLV was talented last year. Hell, I watched them beat Kansas last year, right? And they had some guys go to the draft, wide receiver and White, and they had somebody else, I forgot. So, they had some talent last year, but they were scrappy. So if Dan Mullen can come in there and add to some of that scrappiness and also bring talent, they are definitely a team that can possibly, not instant impact, right? But he can probably look to the future and something to be upright when it comes to it. Because like you said, Dan Mullen's been a good coach, Florida, Dak Prescott, the list goes on. And, I've just been out there in Vegas last week. There's a lot of excitement in the air when it comes to UNLV football, and being able to play at that stadium is actually nice too as well, So, yeah.
So they get to play in Allegiant?
Not every game, right? But there's some games they get to play there. Yeah.
Damn, look at that. And they are really rolling out the red carpet for this guy.
Yeah.
I really hope that they can get it done. Regardless, I think UNLV fans are probably going to be thrilled, especially based off of the opponent that they are going to be playing. Yeah. In fact, now I'm kind of interested to see what UNLV's football schedule looks like this year, because Mullen has quite a bit to prove. I mean, dude, I feel like we're solid to have a pretty solid start, right?
Yeah.
So you have Idaho State, Sam Houston. You have UCLA. With our good friend Nico from Tennessee, we'll see how that plays out.
Right.
Miami, Ohio. You have Wyoming. You have UNLV. Boise State. Okay.
Right.
That's going to be a test. Utah State is no slouch. You have Colorado State, Hawaii, and Nevada. I don't know, man. Maybe a decent season for Dan Mullen.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, looking at the schedule is not too bad. I mean, Colorado State would probably be a little trippy. Boise,
yeah, and that's going to be the premier game right over there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, on the blue, right? So I mean, looking at the schedule, they should fare fairly well versus that schedule. You said they had Colorado? It's Colorado State,
and they have Colorado State.
Okay, just Colorado State. Yeah, so they should be maybe 3 losses max, maybe.
I don't know, man. We will see. Now, the night game is going to be interesting. We have Stanford and Hawaii. Stanford makes the trip all the way to Hawaii for this game right here. I'm not sure how much research you put into this one, my friend, but what are some of your early favorites?
Yeah, didn't dig too deep into this one, to be honest with you. But I will say I think this is going to be a back and forth battle. This is going to be a coin flip. What is the spread set up? Yeah, -2.5, so pretty much a coin flip when it comes to this game. So if you look at it, and it's hard, right? Because 1, this is the problem with predictions. 2 is also the problem with sports betting, just to be honest with you guys, because a lot of people are going to be excited because football's back. That a lot of the numbers statistic is based off of last year, right? So it's a new year, new me, as we always say, when the clock strikes 12 on January 1st. So I know that Hawaii had a decent defense, nothing too crazy. Really didn't watch a lot of Stanford football, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend to lie to you guys. So, it's probably going to be a back and forth battle. This is probably be a game that personally I wouldn't touch from a betting aspect. If I had to lean, I'd probably go at Stanford to win this matchup.
Yeah, with Stanford. I'd probably have to agree with you on this one. I'm not high on either of these teams. I think Stanford is going to finish like nearly right in the basement. So within their own respective conference this year. like one would have thought, and I mean, granted, it is in Ireland, so it would not have made sense for us to have the Iowa State and K-State game being that late.
Right.
But I mean, hey, you know what? It is week 0, and then next weekend, I have a feeling that we're going to be having a lot more fun conversations, right, if you will.
Right.
Moving on.
There he is.
QB Diego Pavia is set to make north of $2 million this season in NIL money.
Must be
From
nice.
what I understand, we saw so the On3 Sports ended up listing out all of their estimations of the highest paid guys in all of college football. I want to say Arch is up there. I think a couple of other guys. I'm going to have to pull up the list real fast. But like, what are your thoughts on Diego Pavia, right? Like, maybe I just don't like his interviews, and maybe there's a part of me that's rooting for him to fail. I don't know, but I'm not particularly high on the guy.
I like him because he's just scrappy and fiery. Like, he is your prototypical college quarterback, right? He plays with a lot of moxie, he plays with guts, he plays with courage. You know, he kind of has that college feel about him. At the NFL level, I'll probably, day 3 pick him at the most, to be honest with you. But I think at the college level, I think he's going to be decent. And we saw Vanderbilt last year. They're scrapping. They won some big games. So, I think Diego, I personally like him. I'm a fan of watching him play. But he's an acquired taste.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
most definitely. He's got a chip on his shoulder. You know what I mean? I hope that he can have a quality season, but it's going to be a tough run for the young man.
Right.
Going into the block. And in fact, I was able to pull up some of the highest paid guys going into college football. It's Arch Manning at $6.8 million.
Yeah, I'm going to look.
No surprise there. Carson Beck at 4.3. Okay. All right. We all know how we feel about that. We have Jeremiah Smith, 4.2.
This is crazy.
BYU.
Okay.
Okay, I have AJ at 4.1. You have Garrett Nussmeier at 3.7 million. Have Lenora Sellers at 3.7. Same thing with DJ Lagway. Cade Klubnik at 3.4. Drew Aller at 3.1. Damn, man, you would have thought that he'd be up there. And then Sam Levitt. Somebody brought this up right in the chat, which I think is interesting. It was earlier back when we were talking about the Iowa State and Kansas State game, and he said, "Hot take: the winner of the Iowa State K-State game wins the Big 12." I feel like that is a hot take, right?
Because Iowa State, K-State wins the Big 12. I would say don't count out Arizona State.
Why are people forgetting about Arizona State? Was my question.
Yeah, don't count out Arizona State.
Yeah.
Also, don't count out BYU. They'll be in the thick of things. Yeah, I don't know enough to say count Kansas, but they're going to be scrappy. And Texas Tech will probably be in the thick of things as well. So I think the Big 12 is going to
spend some money this offseason.
Yeah, they spent some money too as well. It'd be nice to see what teams have spent the most in NIL, right? That kind of put 2 and 2 together. But yeah, I would say when it comes to the Big 12, I don't think that this game Saturday morning will decide the fate of it. But I think Kansas State and Iowa State will be in the thick of things, but don't count out Arizona State. I feel like Arizona State and Sam Levitt and also Jordan Tyson, they're probably going to go on a tear. So they'll beat at the end of the season. And BYU, they're spending big money. Salute to BYU. It's where my daughter goes. They spend big money out there. So,
she goes to BYU?
Yeah, she goes to BYU. So,
nice.
Yeah, go find you one of those players,
Go find you one of those players.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That was like a nice young man. What was his name?
A nice young man at BYU. That's a father's dream right there, brother.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. I'm not trying to work forever. Like hell, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, but BYU will definitely be in the thick of things, and they'll be scrappy. And so yeah, BYU, Kansas State, Iowa State, Arizona State.
Interesting, man. Well, folks, we have week 0 only in a couple of days. I know myself and J-Tuck will be glued to the couch.
Yeah.
Maybe I will watch the Bills preseason game. I was like, maybe I'll watch Stanford and Hawaii instead of the Bills preseason game.
See, the Cowboys did me a favor. They knew, like, hey, Tuck loves college football. So we're going to have this last preseason game on Friday night and then
Smart.
give him all Saturday. So, as much as I've been bagging Jerry Jones, thank you, Jerry Jones will give me a Friday preseason game. So that way I can, just vibe out, but, it's typically in the press box. I'll kind of keep my eye on everything. But, yeah, college football is back. I'm excited. It just feels, it's crazy that we're here. And we're talking about that in the chat. Like, it's just crazy that we're here. And we finally made it. So we'll see. So going to be some upsets, especially next week. So hold on tight.
So we're going to be having a damn good time, especially next weekend as we start to preview week 1. All right. We have the Longhorns taking on Ohio State, Clemson, LSU. My God, it's going to be a jam-packed show.
Oh, yeah. Then I'll be on site next Thursday at Cincinnati versus Nebraska at Arrowhead. Oh, I didn't put that on my calendar. So yeah, it's here, y'all. It's here.
On-site stuff, man. We're going to be having a great time over on this channel. If you're watching the replay, do us a favor. Subscribe, turn on bell notifications, like this video. And, guys, we'll see you on Monday. Same time, same place. You have anything for the audience, J Tuck, right before we send them off?
No, man, we're here. Like I said, definitely hit that subscribe button. Let everybody know that we're going live on Mondays and Thursdays, because as we get the college football season kicking off, we're going to be talking about a lot. Probably have some guests and probably even sprinkling some sports bets for you guys as well, so you can get some coin while you're watching games on Saturdays and Thursdays. So
that's exactly what I am talking about. Thank you guys again. We have Noah coming in saying, when this channel gets as big as the other roundtables, we need to do events for college days. Me and Jay Tucker are already planning the tour in 2027. Yeah. Trust me.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Thank you so much. We will see you on Monday. Peace.